Veronica, for all your help, not only on the technical side, but Scully's just done a fantastic job of bringing all these great topics to us all throughout the field. So thank you very much for your leadership and support in that. And today I'm super excited because I'm joined with my colleague, Marianne Conlon, who's our Senior Brand Director at Full Capacity Marketing, and we call her our social media guru. She's our resident guru in-house on social media, and today is all about how you use social media as a strategy to engage your key influencers. So we'll be looking at the news media, local and state elected officials, the policymakers, that whole group of target audience members. The other thing is we'll also look at how you can leverage the campaign to build a following. So we've got a lot of great information in store for you today. And I think, Veronica, now is probably a good time to just go ahead and start with the polls, if we will. We've got 2 polls that we would like for you to take just so we get a sense of who is on the call with us today. And you can answer both the polls simultaneously. One is, which of the following statements best reflects your organization's efforts in social media? We're just looking here to see sort of where you're at, if you do social media, if you do not, you know, and what social media accounts you do tend to use. This has been great to sort of getting to know all of the 71 consortia across the state, taking a look at, you know, what kind of communication tools you all are using. So as that's going on, I will let you know one other thing about your handouts today. We developed the handouts as a standalone document, but Marianne and I are going to be doing a lot of toggling back and forth today, so we might skip over a slide because that slide is being shown in a demonstration. So, okay, let's see what we have here. We've got many of you about split half and half on you do have one social media account and that you actively post on a weekly basis. Okay, so that's good, almost 50%. And then most of you looks like are using Facebook and Twitter, which is good. Those are the 2 platforms that we're going to really talk about today. Okay, Veronica, we can go back to the PowerPoint. That gives us a sense of sort of what platforms you're using. I appreciate that. So let's look at specifically what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the strategy and really looking at content and messaging. That is always key to get your engagements high on any social media platform. We're going to focus on Twitter and Facebook. We do use Twitter for both the National Educate and Elevate campaign and California's campaign, and Facebook only for the national campaign. So we'll show you some of the things we're doing on that campaign and how you can leverage those efforts with what you're currently doing. And then we'll end with some best practices. Okay. So with that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about platforms, and when we're getting the message out about Educate and Elevate, which is our statewide campaign, as you know, to raise awareness about the relevancy of adult education. When you look at your strategy, we'd like for you to look at it from 2 perspectives. One is tapping into any consortium-level social media accounts that you may have, and any of the individual organizations who are members of that consortium social media accounts as well. If the consortium member schools have limited time to update their social media accounts, this could be an opportunity for you all to consolidate into a single consortium account. This is a strategy that we often use when we're developing regional teams and trying to get the word out, or at least link into those individual accounts. So one of the first things you want to do is just take a look at what accounts you have available for you for posting, and make sure that you're leveraging all of them, because that will help cross-promotion and also get your messages out too. Okay, so we want to start with a demo and talk about content, because that is really the key. And Marianne, while I'm talking about this, you can go ahead and toggle over to the Educate and Elevate California website. And engaging posts are, you know, of course, the heart of any social media strategy. And it's important to plan, do some pre-planned tweets or posts for any school district social media accounts, or also for your consortium accounts, whichever one you're going to use. Now, we've brought you here to the campaign website because this is filled with information that you can pull and create posts. And Marianne, if you would toggle on down to the infographic, and this is on the home page, so as you show them where that's at, so you'll see here, we've just got a little snippet here. Actually, that could be a post unto itself. But if you go to the full infographic, you can see that it is very much a data-rich document filled with all kinds of interesting facts that would be, these could be your posts right here. So, and Marianne, did you want to add anything to that just in terms of the infographic and the data points here and how they might want to translate that to a post?
Yes, you can use these both on Facebook and Twitter, and obviously there's different strategies as well as Instagram, because Instagram's a very visual medium, and I've noticed a number of you have those. But if you look at this data, this is going to appeal to selected audiences, which I think you're going to primarily find on Twitter and Facebook. So you can take this PDF either as a screenshot. We're going to talk a little bit later about making images, and then crop them, and then they'll fit as the visual in your post. And then you can write something about them, maybe specifically about your organization, about your school, about the consortium in general. So these can be used in a lot of different ways, and we've been using this type of thing on the national campaign, and they've gotten very good response, again, because they're very visual.
The other thing, too, Marianne, as you're going through this, it really sets up the need and the business case of support for adult education, and that's really our goal in the campaign. So as we reach out to policymakers and key influencers, these posts are really great because you're not fire hosing them all at one time with, you know, one fact sheet. You're taking these and getting them into bite-sized pieces, if you will, for these posts. Now, the other thing on the website, and Marianne, if you could show them where the, let's go into the adult facts section is of the website. So this is a subpage of the website called Adult Facts, and you'll see down here you have a lot of different links that adult education has many facets. And what we did here, if you could scroll down just a tiny bit more, Marianne, that's great. So folks can see there's different categories. There's adult basic and secondary education, there's CTE, English language, etc. Marianne, go ahead and click on adult basic and secondary education, one of the facets, of course, of our work. And what we have done here is we've created fact sheets, which again are filled with content that you could pull for posts. We pulled these from our e-magazine and created different data and statistics and things of that nature that you could just pull right out of here for a post. These also make great handouts if you're wanting to educate a key influencer on any specific aspect of adult education and what you're doing. There's one in here for apprenticeships, all kinds of things. So if you can toggle back there, Marianne, and we can see all the different downloads that you can use. So that's another area that's sort of rich in data and information for your posts. Okay, one other thing we wanted to show you all on the website is the link to the e-magazine. And the e-magazine, we had shared this in a previous webinar, but this is an interactive book. One thing you could do is just put a post to push people to this link for the full magazine. But you can also slice and dice. There's interactive video in here. There's success stories. Any of those make a very rich post. And Marianne, you've done a lot of posting with success stories. You want to share any tips or insights into how they might use success stories in posts?
Yes, we've had a lot of success, as Selena said, with success stories. And I know that a lot of you already do post success stories about your students. But one of the things that we are really trying to do, particularly with this campaign, is engage the business community. So when you're using your success stories, sometimes it's really helpful to really address certain issues that are very important right now. So if you have someone who's gained the skills in a construction particular skill set that is in high demand, that's a good thing to really show that you're training people for jobs that are in demand. So we've had a lot of success with that.
So I think, these three areas, these links that we've shown you alone, I mean, you could get weeks and weeks of posts out of that. We're always looking at, where should our posts come from and curating the content. The other thing, Marianne, is to set up Google Alerts, and maybe you want to demonstrate that and how they might use that to be able to curate content that they're pulling from the web into their posts.
Sure. If you haven't used Google Alerts before, you can really go, if you see the URL on the top, it's google.com/alerts. And this is connected to your Google account, but you can also connect it directly to your website, to your webmail, whatever, or Outlook, or however you're using it. In fact, if you just saw something recently that popped up on the side of the screen there, that was a Google alert coming in. So what I've done is created several Google alerts here, and you're simply, and I just took the Pasadena Consortium as a starting point here, and I can put in an alert for something that I want to be aware of, so that I can capitalize on stories that are coming up about this particular alert. So if I write in unemployment, and I'm going to put in the name of my city, then I'll create an alert. So now this is an alert, and what will happen is this alert now will show all of the news stories that are coming in about that. So right now we don't have anything there, but we do have stories coming in on adult education, and we have them on the skills gap. There's nothing right now, but these things will come in. Here's one on healthcare, so I can also go and check here to see what is happening in news. And then what I do is I'll use news stories to write a post. So I might write a post if a good story comes up about something that's happening in one of these areas. And I'll show you how it shows in my inbox. It will just come up as an email. This is in my inbox. And then you click exactly on, and this is obviously in Massachusetts, but I can click on the story, and the story will come up that was in the news. And these I have it set for immediate. So it can come in, you can get them once a day or weekly or whatever, and this allows you to just use the URL and use the information in the story to write a post either for Facebook or for Twitter. You could also, obviously, as you kind of saw what I was doing here, is I can go through here every day and just kind of look to see what is happening in the areas I'm interested in, and I can get delivery of choosing when to receive my alerts. So it can be the time of day, it can be weekly, so there's a lot of different settings that you can play with on this.
It's such a great feature. And so, if we toggle on back to the PowerPoint, Marianne, we can look at some other posting ideas. And we should tell you off the top of the bat that the handle for the campaign is @AEBG Elevate. That's @AEBG Elevate. So one of the things you're going to want to do is follow us, obviously, so we can retweet your content that's taking place. And I'm going to just toggle over here now, and then we'll be able to connect. And of course, we've talked here about telling many success stories on Facebook. Marianne, you think you covered that? Is there anything else on this slide you want to cover?
Yeah, I think that it's really important with the success stories to be able to link so that it will actually appear. As you can see, when you're posting, and some of you already know this, of course, when you put a link in, particularly on Twitter and sometimes on Facebook, if you put the link in there, it will give a little preview to the reader so they can see what the success story is and then click on it. So this is really what's important when you're submitting success stories. Think about what your headline is, or think about what you're calling it and what your first sentence is, because that makes a difference on how it appears on social media.
Right. It's a really good point. And hashtags are really important, aren't they, Marianne? You've put together some hashtags that we should definitely be using in the campaign. Why did you select these?
One of the things that we're doing when we're looking at hashtags is what is trending, but then we're also looking at what are key things in the news. So a lot of times what will happen is I'll be looking at the news or looking at my Google alerts and see what the key conversation is. Skills Gap is a really good hashtag to use because that is speaking directly to the business community. But we also look at GED because obviously there are several different high school equivalency exams. The HiSET I know a lot of you offer, but the GED is the one that is probably most recognized. And then for motivational hashtags, you have success, winning, hard work. And if you use the social media channels a lot, you'll know that Monday is Motivation Monday, which is also another good hashtag to use if you're going to be posting on that particular day. I just want to take a second and just talk a little bit about how we were using our posting during the several disasters, and I know that the fires in Santa Rosa have caused beyond a housing crisis and the tragedy, personal tragedy, has also caused a real need for construction workers, which is a skills gap, and that's something that some of you offer courses that can, particularly in CTE programs or building people's skill sets so they can go into them. So that's a good one to think about and watch setting up a Google alert with those words and with the Santa Rosa fires or however it works out in your area. But those are good because what happens, and I'm going to be showing you this later, is that you can use these, and people do use these hashtags to find out more information. You get greater visibility. And one more comment on that is just, if you noticed here, there's a tendency to use a lot of hashtags, and the key thing on this slide is don't use too many. On Twitter, the hashtags, really using one or two is much, much better than using a whole lot more, because it drops off to 17% engagement after you use more than two. On Facebook, it's a little bit different because people use hashtags not only as a search tool, but also just to convey other emotions or things that they're thinking, kind of like a text emoji. So there's a little bit different use on those top two channels. Same thing on Instagram.
Hashtag got it, Marianne. Don't overuse. Okay, this is the other thing that you always recommend to customers is be visual. Why is that, Marianne?
The engagement with posts is much, much higher when it's visual, and I think almost everyone is aware of that already. If you can put in a photo, you can use on Facebook, you can actually use their tools now when you're creating a post so that you make a poster out of your post, which is very easy. You can also use parts of the infographic. As I said, that's a really good one. And you can use photos of things that are going on in your school. I think that if you have a program that you use, maybe you use Adobe Photoshop if you're pretty good with visuals. If you're not and you haven't used anything, Canva.com is a great free graphic program. Or you can just drop it into PowerPoint. If you're any good at PowerPoint and you know how you can crop photos in PowerPoint and add text. So that's a real simple hack that you can use if you don't use a lot of photo programs. If you're using it on your phone, there are apps, everything from very, very simple to very, very complicated that you can use to crop your photos and get them into the right size and add little decorations and different things like that. If you try to be fun, that's what you can really do with visual, and that's very arresting for people going through their screens. So Selena just showed you now. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to tell you, sorry, Marianne, I was just going to tell you, Estella Banks said Google Drawing is also a great tool as well. So you guys take note of that as well in the chat box.
Okay, so anyway, I was going to go back over to the image sizes for social media, and a lot of you, I know, most of you have social media accounts, and a half of you are posting weekly, so I'm sure you're pretty familiar with this. But one of the challenges with social media is that the programmers change the image sizes on what seems like a somewhat random basis. So I want to give you this website that is always kept up to date, where you can find the sizes for different activities within your social media accounts. They have them for all of them if you use Instagram or Pinterest or anything else as well. So just kind of keep that one in mind. It's good to be able to check back there.
Oop. Marianne, I think we lost you. Okie doke. We'll keep going here. I'm sure Marianne will call back in. So the other thing, so this is all sort of around content and posts and engaging posts and all of that. And certainly there are things on the website. We've shared all of that with you. And if you have any other thoughts on how you can bring content into your post or sources that you use, go ahead and put them in the chat feature so everybody can benefit from that. So next we're going to get into Facebook and Twitter. Marianne, are you back
Yes.
online? Okay, great. So in setting up kind of Facebook and Twitter components, so Facebook and Twitter are the most effective social media tools for targeting key influencers. We did some research and found that 75% of organizations that conduct any type of advocacy work or trying to attract the media or legislative staff is on Twitter. So it's really a great tool to use for this target audience. They're highly engaged Twitter users both politically and socially, and a small population of Twitter contributes the vast majority of posts. So let's talk a little bit about, Marianne, do you have anything to add to that? And then what I'd love to do is talk a little bit about how you think they should build their following with these key stakeholders.
Sure. I think that one of the things that if you're using both Twitter and Facebook, you notice that they're very, very different audiences with very, very different reasons for being on the platform. So Twitter is one that is very, very popular with the press, as you know, and getting more and more popular. That is what journalists do. They spend a lot of time on Twitter checking out news stories. They are very willing to engage because they're always looking for something new. Also with the legislators, as you're probably aware, a lot of legislators use Twitter to communicate between each other and between their constituencies. So that's an important one to really think about. If you're not on with your senators and representatives on both Facebook and Twitter, you should be. Now, one of the key things that you should realize also, though, is that even your local representatives are on. Campaigning has moved to social media. Conversations with their constituents is very important. So this is both Twitter and Facebook. Facebook, you should connect with your local officials, but one of the reasons you're connecting with them is to connect your following with them. And your following tends to be, or should be, people within your area, within your local consortium area and what you serve, whereas on Twitter you want to go out a little further so that you would be wanting to connect with your local, your state, and your national representatives. And more important is also connect with the staffers, because we all know that a lot of the work is done, maybe the real work is done by the staffers, and you can easily find them on Twitter. Facebook is a little bit harder because that tends to be used privately, but on Twitter you'll find a lot of staffers who are actually writing the bills that you care about. And on your local level, that's very true as well.
Fantastic. So any questions you guys have on connecting with your legislators on Twitter, go ahead and put them in the chat box so we can get to them, or maybe some strategies that you have used and shared with the team. Now, in expanding your reach, we're going to talk about, Marianne, if you want to toggle over to the demos now, and we can show you a couple of really great things on other following you should do with your cities, and how to follow the press as well, because these are key influencers that you want to seek out and follow.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is show you, this is our campaign account for this campaign. This is Educate and Elevate California, and we're building this account right now. When you look at these accounts, what you can do with your account to find followers, one of the mistakes that people make is they follow a lot of people. You notice that we have a 1-to-4 ratio. You really don't want to get over that, so you don't want to go on and follow every single one of your legislators. You want to be able to build it up over time. So as you start going forward, one of the things that you'll want to do, the first thing to find your following on Twitter, is to go over and put in, and I'm going to do this over here, is I'm going to put in Long Beach up here, and then in the search bar, and then I'm getting everyone who's used that tag Long Beach. When I'm scrolling down here, what I'd be looking for is, who do I have on here? And here's a couple different people. As you look through this, you can look and say, oh, this is somebody I should follow, or this one is something that might be interesting. If you go down here, you'll see that you're having a lot of different organizations who are involved. You'll find that you have the general people within the area, as well as you'll be having the local officials. And actually the mayor was on here, but this updated since last time I looked at it, so sorry about that. But what I'm going to start with then is I'm going to go ahead and move over here and start with the following the press. And where I would start, and as I said, I'm going to be taking Long Beach as an example, is I'd start with the local paper, which is the Long Beach Press Telegram, and I would have just put that up there in the bar, and this will pop up. When I go down and look at their following, who they're following, not who their followers are, but who they're following, what I'll generally find is their reporters. So you'll see their senior editor here, so that's somebody I might want to follow. There's another journalist, probably a freelancer. I'm going to be able to find also other people who are involved in here, Mayor of Los Angeles, but I'll also find a lot of the councilmen, the councilwomen, the council members, as you can see here, LA County supervisors. So you're going to be able to find, by following the paper in your city, you're going to be able to find both officials and you're going to be able to find press. And you want to follow them. Reporters will almost always follow you back, so that's a good way to start. Some of the other things as you're going through here is you're seeing who's involved in the community. And one of the things, and if anybody from the Long Beach Consortium is on right now, you know that Toyota Grand Prix is a big player there, and so that might be somebody to connect with, might be somebody that you're have a success story with. So this is a good thing if you would follow, say, Toyota Long Beach. If you're placing some people, you have some success stories that are moving in there, you might want to tag them. So this is a great way to start building your following, by starting with your hashtag of your city and your local paper. And as you can see, this is not the only paper. There's a lot of smaller weeklies, and smaller weeklies will typically follow you too. The greater you can get within your own community, the wider your message will spread. So I'm going to go over here a little bit to following your local officials too. And again, this is the mayor of Long Beach, so we would be able to follow him. And there are going to be things that he might tweet that relate to you, and so you want to make him aware, or your local officials aware, that you have a Twitter account. And that's one of the key things, particularly if you're going to a meeting with officials from your local area, or if you're going to city council meetings or you're engaging with employers, any of these people, when you start following them on Twitter, they then know to tag you when they have something to say that is about your programs. So one of the other things that I want to say is follow your fire department, your police department. You want to follow all of these people who are involved in your community because, again, they are people who are going to be tweeting out things that are of interest to the people who live in your community, as well as they will then be aware of you. And a lot of this following is about awareness.
Mm-hmm. So it seems like, Marianne, you're really, this is great information because you're focusing on, how to scan your local community and really be part of a broader conversation, and where might you fit in as an adult educator into that conversation. So it's like opening up opportunities in a way.
Yes, it's really important to understand how Twitter works. Twitter has a lot fewer members than Facebook, but those people are more powerful. It takes a lot of work to, as a lot of you probably already know, it takes a lot of work to be on Twitter. You're posting frequently. One of the things that you should remember is if you're posting, you should have a 1-to-5 ratio, 1 original post to 5 interactions. So that's probably surprising to a lot of people, but you should be out engaging, retweeting other people within the community, putting out messages that tag someone. So the more that you can do that, the better. And this is where you tie in your Google alerts too. If you have a Google alert about something that's happening and you want to, and you think that it's relating to your programs, one of the things to do is to copy that link. Generally, if you click on the Twitter button on the particular website that has the news article, it will come up and automatically tag that person, and then you're giving additional information to the people who follow you. So the people who follow you, one of the things that is really important to watch is thinking about is they don't follow you only to get adult education information. The more you can give them really usable information, the more they'll share that and the more followers you might have. So one of the things you don't want to be is too very, very focused on your particular organization. You want to get out and spread a little bit more than just this is what we're doing.
Right. It also weaves you into other conversations. And again, people like to see their items retweeted. Estella asked a question. She said, did you say 1-to-5 ratio, 1 post to 5 retweets?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, fantastic.
And I'll just...
So if you have any other questions, go ahead, Marianne, please.
I was just going to give a hint. If you're responsible for the social media for your organization, and you're not doing it on your phone, if you do it on your phone, it's really much easier to retweet because you can look at your phone throughout the day. You may be scheduling posts using Hootsuite or using another type of tool that will allow you to post in advance and schedule posts. But for retweeting, you're better off to be in the moment. So I keep my accounts on my phone, and I can keep my personal as well as several other accounts. The app allows you to do that so that you can, in the moment, see what's going on and retweet it in a spare moment when you happen to be looking at it. And that's very helpful because it is a lot of work to tweet on to handle Twitter.
It really is, and it makes me think, how are our teams organized? Because there's oftentimes so short staff, or social media is something that's in additional to their duties. So do you have any tips, Marianne, for how they might organize this work on Twitter? Just because it does take a lot of time, and we've talked, okay, you can go to the website, you can do Google alerts, but it really is kind of like a hunting and strategy on Twitter that's pretty intense. So any strategies for them to help organize?
Yes, the thing that we do is we actually use Hootsuite, but you can use any tool that will allow you to schedule your posts, and schedule your posts out a week if you can. And that gets that part out of the way. And you know that you're continually having information going out from your account. And then the second thing is to really, as I said, that's where the phone tip comes in. Definitely be using your phone. If you have a meeting, an event, a graduation, anything along those lines, again, on your phone is much easier. Snap a picture, write a post, and then just tweet it out right while you're there. You can come back to the office and do Facebook because that doesn't have to quite be so much in the moment, but it's always a good idea to be able to react to things immediately.
Sure. That sounds good. Irma has a great question. I haven't used Twitter yet. Can you suggest a website or video where I can learn how to use it?
There are always, there's quite a few of them actually out there. I wouldn't suggest one in particular. The website I showed you and is in your deck that has the social media image sizes. If you go on to that particular site, you'll see that that is HubSpot. They have a lot of training tools on there as well, everything you ever want to know about social media. Incidentally, what you're seeing on my
right, and full capacity marketing.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, what you're seeing on my screen here, this Hoot Chat image is a very simple image that was made with. It could be made on your phone. You could use a PowerPoint. You could use Adobe Photoshop, or in Facebook actually is integrated. But look at the difference between the text and just actually putting this text on a background, and you can see the how visual makes a big difference. So I just wanted to share that part.
Absolutely. No, that's great. And also, too, FCM has a social media work group for workforce and education professionals. So there's about 2,000 of us across the country that share ideas and strategies, folks from all levels in terms of using social media. So all you have to do is connect with me on LinkedIn and request to join. It is a closed group, so we have a close-knit group, but if you're interested in joining that, you can certainly do that. Okay, Marianne, I want to switch gears and go ahead.
Yeah,
you
I just want to show one more thing about connecting and engaging is if you are, say you wanted to engage with the mayor here, if you go onto their page, you'll see that you can tweet directly to them. And this can be to a reporter. This is a great thing to use with a reporter. If you click that button as I just showed you, and I'll do it again, to anyone, you can tweet directly to them, and this will show up in their notifications. You could say, we have a great story about a success story that we think would be really interesting that you might want to write about. So keep in mind these tools here on the right here that you can tweet, you can direct message. There's a couple other options on that. So I just want to make sure that we got that in there. Okay, Selena.
And that's great. I'm really glad you showed that, because let's say you read something that Mr. Garcia said in the newspaper or quoted or had a perception about adult education or education in general, whatever. That was, wow, you actually have some data or things to actually share, or maybe a success story. This is why the campaign website is so great, so that we can, really have a platform, if you will, to say, hey, check out all of our great success stories, et cetera. Okay, and then we have one from Branca. Selena, someone who's been tweeting for the adult education field for a while, I would like to share that a number of us under the COABE umbrella are making an effort to use the hashtag AdultEDU instead of hashtag AdultEd, because a few years ago the wrong group of tweets started showing up in the hashtag. So Marianne, I do think that is the national campaign that FCM is also running with COABE. That's how this California campaign was actually born, and I believe we are using some of those strategies. But Marianne, can you clarify
on that?
Yes,
we do use actually both because we have seen that and we're aware of that situation with AdultEDU and AdultEd, and it's to the point now where it's somewhat varied in that people use both of them, and if you'll see, when you could put in AdultEDU, you'll get up a lot of much of what you'd expect to see in terms of the types of tags. This is the account for the South Bay Northern California South Bay consortium right here. This is one that we put out, and we're using the AdultEDU. You will notice, though, that a lot of people did not get the message on that, so they are still using AdultEd. So we'll use AdultEDU generally, but we'll use both because people are using both, and so you really don't want to stick to one or the other. So you can kind of see, you're recognizing some of these right here.
And I think, right, exactly. Oh, I thought Bronca had, yes, she goes, yes, I agree that people use both of them. I just wanted to inform all of those interested that there are 2 hashtags to look for. Thank you, Bronca, absolutely. And we want to connect in with you as someone who's been tweeting for a while, so we will follow you.
Right now.
Thank you so much. Okay, Marianne. Yeah, exactly, right now. Let's follow her. So let's see here. Marianne, can we switch gears now to Facebook? And if you could go over to COABE's national account that we work on for Facebook, and Educate and Elevate. And so Facebook, a little bit different. You know, 75% of adults use Facebook. There are more users 25 plus than at younger ages, and it really helps to engage with prospective students, alumni, local employers, K through 12, causes, officials, everything. I know, Marianne, you're going to show a very cool feature of Facebook called Town Hall that we've been using in this campaign, but is there anything else you want to set up for the team here today about Facebook?
One of the things that I talked quite a bit about Twitter and about how it's about influencers. It's about a small number of people tweeting a lot, whereas Facebook has a very different feel and has a very different usage for most people. Most people use it to keep in touch with friends and family. And you'll notice, and this is very generational, the younger you are, the more friends you have because you're less discerning. The older that people get, they tend to be more discerning and more privacy-oriented. And that's a generational thing, as we all know, and particularly for the millennial generation, those of you who are really focused on getting the younger adult learners who are maybe in their late teens or early 20s will know that they are not on Facebook. That next generation coming up behind the millennials, which is at the moment called the iGen generation, they are less likely to be on Facebook or Instagram. They may be on Snapchat, or they may be on, there's a whole bunch of different ones now, so they're a much harder group to reach. But if you're looking to get the adults who are in our kind of our core market, which I would say is really the 20 to 30 adult education students, you might want to use Facebook to share with them. And again, if you don't entertain people and provide things that are very interesting, they're not going to follow you. So a key thing to remember about Facebook as well as Twitter is it's not about you. It's about them. So the more you can connect with people and putting in actions that you'd like them to do, follow us. Check out this neat story. Isn't this a really nice thing? You know, it's a really nice story. Why don't, please share. Things like, boy, this made me want to smile. Things that are really personal when you put into a post, that makes a big difference in engagement with people. So I'm going to just go ahead and go forward and tell you ways that you can get your followers to engage with your legislators. So I want to show a little bit about a new function called Town Hall. And if you've used Town Hall, can you go ahead and put it in the chat box and share your experience on that? If you haven't, you may not have heard of it actually. But this came out prior to the 2016 election. Facebook started experimenting with enabling people to connect directly with their legislators. And if you look on your personal account, on this bar on the left and go all the way down, you'll see where it says how you can connect with your legislators, and that really pulls from your location and will suggest your legislators to you might want to follow. But if you're developing a post for your organization, for the consortium, you might want to use this. So if I'm going to start writing a post, I might say something along the lines, support bill number whatever, 234, to save adult education funding. So once you have this, if you see this button here, and you can see what this does, this is called the Town Hall button. It looks like a little state house, and encourage people to contact the government representatives. If you click on this, you can put in the person that you want them to connect to, and I'm going to put our state senator, Dianne Feinstein. So what happens is when you post this, what happens is what will show up in the box on everyone's page who follows you will be this button for Find Your Reps in case you want to find somebody else. But it'll also give you several different ways to contact Senator Feinstein. Call, it'll have her mailing address, and it will allow you to directly forward the post to and write a little something on there so that they'll be able to forward this post with a personal message to her that might say, I'm supporting this, we really would like you to vote for this. So it allows them to directly connect without having to do anything, and it also allows them to put a personal message and get it right to them, and also encourages them to contact her in other ways, via phone or via snail mail or whatever. So this is a great tool you can use. There's all sorts of officials down to the local level. Anyone who's on Facebook who is an official and is registered with Facebook as a government official you'll be able to find them. Okay, and we have used this.
That's so great. Talk about direct outreach. Wow. It's like, there you go. And you've used this a lot in the
national
campaign.
Yeah, and that's a great
Marianne?
thing where you're combining with your Google alerts. If you see a Google alert coming up on legislation and you're not sure exactly how to get it out, this is a great way to do it. To put out, you can put a call to action. You know, you can just directly say in your post, please contact Senator.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. So you're tagging in her here, and then go, about the important bill coming up.
By the way, just as you're doing that, Marianne, just a result of the national campaign and using these strategies, we've had 37,000 touch points with senators on the Hill about adult education through the COABE national campaign. So these are strategies that really work, in terms of getting to your key influencers, for sure.
Okay. All right.
Irma asked a question here, and she says, is it worth to pay Facebook to boost posts?
Facebook advertising is some of the most cost-effective advertising that you can do, but I generally do not encourage going to directly and boosting posts. What you can do is you can go to your ad manager and create. Do you want me to walk through this? Do we have some time to do this, or no, Selena? Okay.
Yeah, do this real. Yeah, we have some time to do it. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Have it open. This is on my home page. Nobody read all my posts.
That's okay.
So I have a privacy setting on, so I'm only friends with people I know. So the ad manager will come up here. And so if you go into the ad manager, and you can create a campaign. And so I'll create a new one. It's going to take a second here, but I'll tell you why you want to use that.
And while you're doing that, we've got I was going to say, we've got great questions coming in, Marianne. So, we'll get to all your questions here as soon as Marianne finishes.
Okay, so if you're looking, so you have a couple different options here. You can send traffic to your website. You can engage, that's getting followers. Those are the two big things that you really want to look at. Facebook changes the names of these on a regular basis and changes all this setup. I think that you have peripatetic coders there, so you have to keep kind of watching it and basically Googling to see what they changed. So there is a Facebook help button up here, so this is your friend. But if you're looking going into traffic, which is if you want to send it to your website, and what you can do is, I'm not going to name this ad, but you could, this is the simplest thing that I'm going to walk through. Generally, you don't need anything too complicated. Don't worry about a lot of the settings. But if you're looking at what you want to do, the biggest thing that you want to look at is your audience. And what's nice about Facebook ads is that you can create your audience very, very localized. So we're going to create a custom audience of, I'm going to try to, but unfortunately it's a little slow here. I think I have too many tabs open, as you can see, for this presentation. But what I do have so what I might put this in is I'll look at my core age group of, for this particular ad, I'm going to be looking at, say, 22 to 35. And obviously you have adult students at different ages, but you want to really target specific things. So if you're looking, saying, for this particular age group, I'm going to type in the location of, I'm going to use Long Beach just because that's where I'm from, so I will default to that. If I look at, I'll put in Long Beach is where I want to go, and then I'll go down here to the detailed targeting, which is interest. So what I can put in here is I'll put in some basic things like literacy, maybe adult education. You see how it's giving me some suggestions? This is because I've run ads before. So they'll give me a lot of different things that I might want to put in here. I don't really like any of those. I'm going to go back to adult education and see what they have to offer here. So they're looking at adult education, education level. Some college, this might be a good one for the community colleges to be looking at. You might want to put that. But you can also put things in that are very specific to an area. And I'm going to see if this will come up. Oh, no, it doesn't. Okay, so oh, that's because I spelled it wrong. But if you look at this, some things you can get pretty specific on this and see if it will give you suggestions on that. Nope, that one doesn't come up. But you will be able to find very, very specific things that you can look for. ESL, something that might come up, or English language. But this is something that allows you to target.
So you can see, Irma, like how you, I was going to say, we got about 5 minutes, Marianne, so I'm just trying to get through all the questions. But you can see, Irma, how you can really target, down to age, all the way to location and everything. So the question is yes, and it's something that we talk about in our work group online, and so you can definitely, if you want more information on that, or just contact us directly. I want to get to 2 more questions in here just to make sure everybody gets their questions answered. One is, are you able to use Town Hall when posting to a page, or does it need to be an individual account?
It is only available to nonprofits. So you cannot do it from your personal page. The icon will not show up. It will show up if you are registered as a nonprofit. So make sure that you have your set to nonprofit on Facebook. If for some reason it's not working, go ahead and contact them through the help button and let them know that you do want to be registered so you can use that function.
And we've done it for our public sector organizations
Yes.
too, right?
Yes.
I mean, we have that capability. So
Yes.
I think that's, you just have to work that out with Twitter. So if you're not, say, well, I'm not a nonprofit, I'm more in the public sector. Okay, and then one other question here is about Twitter. We don't have a school Twitter account yet. What is the best way to create a Twitter account that can be managed by more than one person?
It's really not difficult because Twitter just has a login and a login user ID and a password, just like anything else. Anyone who knows it can definitely use it, and several people can be on it at the same time. So the hardest thing with setting up a Twitter account is figuring out what your name is going to be and the name that you use and the profile definition, because you have character limits. And Selena, you just went through this not too long ago.
Okay, fantastic. We've got about just a couple of minutes here. So did you want to show anything on Facebook Town Hall Project or Action Sprout real quickly, Marianne?
You know what, I think I'm going to skip that because I think, yeah, if there's questions more, because it's pretty simple, but then there's other things that you can do so people could contact us. But the Action Sprout is a website you can go to find out more about it.
Okay. Estella says, what about the LinkedEd email account? Should I link it to my work email?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I'm not sure I'm tracking with that question. Can you reframe that question, Estella? That would be great. And then Marianne, if you could toggle back to the, if you're done with your demo, toggle back to the PowerPoint, and we'll sort of close out here on best practices and next steps. And you guys can keep your questions coming. All good. So, Marianne, you've given them a lot of things to think about today. You know, when we look at best practices overall, let me go ahead and toggle. And again, we're going through these because we've already demonstrated them, but we've developed your PowerPoint as kind of a standalone booklet for you, so you can go back through all of this information, and we've got details there on the town hall features. One of the things we say is to dedicate a staff member to manage your accounts, and that helps for a lot of reasons, for continuity and everything. Commit to posting on a regular basis. You know, we go on accounts, and if there hasn't been a post and within a day, we think, gosh, is something wrong? Is that account dead already? So you really have to think through your content management strategy, plan the tweets. If you use a social media management tool like Hootsuite, that also helps. A lot of times just tracking the metrics and making those adjustments. So we look all the time at the analytics to see what posts got the most engagement, retweets, things of that nature, so that we can continue on and develop that correct content. We've also gone making it fun and photos, etc. Don't neglect staffers and press. They're a great key influencers. And Marianne, what are you talking about reinforced back home? I think you're talking about all politics is local. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I think when you can make things really specific, and this comes back to using the hashtag of your city, both on Facebook and on Twitter.
Got it, got it. So we've set up some calls to action, you know, here to set up your Twitter and Facebook accounts if you don't have them, to follow, educate, and elevate, and we've given you the handle at AEBG Elevate, at AEBG Elevate, and then use a lot of these strategies that we've shared with you today to follow your key influencers. We call it friendly stalking, so it's really good. And try out the Facebook page, the Facebook Town Hall page. SCOE has set up contact and support, so again, you can ask us questions through the support line, or you can contact us directly. Please make sure, if you want to continue this conversation, if you want to join our social media work group, that will be great. And I'm going to turn it back over to Veronica since it's the top of the hour.
Thank you, Selena, and thank you to everyone for participating in today's webinar. As soon as I close this webinar, an evaluation will pop up on your screen. Please be sure to fill out this evaluation. It's our way of getting feedback about what you thought about the webinar, as well as identifying your professional development and technical assistance needs. Also, please be sure to register for upcoming webinars. We have 2 scheduled tomorrow with Neil Kelly. The first one will be on AEBG for institutional researchers, and then the second one is titled Credit Community Colleges in AEBG. You can register for those webinars at register.aebg.org. Again, thank you to everyone for joining us today on this webinar, and we'll see you again shortly tomorrow. Thank you. Have a great day.